What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, everyone, I am here to bring you all my review for RWBY Volume 4, Episode 3. So in case you guys don't know, I did a live reaction to this episode of RWBY, but before you will actually see the live reaction on Saturday, I will be getting this review out before, the live reaction goes out. So, just letting you all know that the live reaction is coming, but by the time that this review is out, so should be the live reaction, hopefully. I will leave it down in the description down below. When I get the live reaction up, the video will be there in the description, and you guys can check out my live reaction to the episode. Alright. So with this episode, we actually got some pretty big reveals when it comes to this episode. So let's first start off with Blake. So Blake is on a boat, and she is heading to somewhere far off in the east, and we're not exactly sure where she is heading in the beginning of this episode, but from what we can speculate in the beginning of this episode, at least, especially from what happened in Volume 3 of RWBY, we thought that due to the damage of, what the White Fang did at Beacon, and just, how the White Fang ended up hurting her friends, she would want to get revenge on this, and she was going to set out on a quest to track down the White Fang in order to get revenge, and maybe even get some other faunus onto her side, so that way that, she can lead a revolution of sorts against the White Fang. And that is actually not the case when it comes to this episode. We actually find out at the end of the episode that Blake is actually heading to her hometown back in, what is the faunus world called again? The area, it is called Mercury, excuse me. I believe that is how you pronounce the area in which she lives at, Mercury. She is heading to Mercury, which is the home of the faunus. And it seems like she is going to try to fix some things up with her family in there. Now, in the opening that we see of RWBY, we see that she is with either her brother or sister, or maybe even her father and her mother, but I'm pretty sure that just due to how the characters look in the opening, that it could possibly be her mother and father that she is on her way to heading over to. Now, what she actually needs to go home for is, pretty much just up in the air right now. We don't really know why she is heading home, besides the fact that I guess she wants to visit her family to, basically catch up on old times and, let her family know that she is safe, but she is going to be going after the White Fang. How her family thinks about this, we're not exactly sure at this moment in time because, we have not gotten up to that point yet, but we will get more clarification as the episodes go on when we learn more about Blake and her family. Now, Blake isn't the only one on the ship. You have other faunus on the ship, and you also have the captain, of course, and his shipmates. Not only they, but you also have some guy in a hidden cloak in the episode, who we later find out is actually Sun Wukong himself. The stowaway is back, people. And I gotta say, Sun Wukong looking awesome, especially with the new software that Rooster Teeth is using. He looks awesome. He looks awesome. I mean, he has the same outfit. I kind of personally wish he would get a different outfit. Some characters have pretty much the same, old outfit that they did in the previous volumes. And I would personally like to see them in new outfits because, I mean, this was a time skip, right? But then again, it's really not that big of a deal. I'm just glad that Sun Wukong is back. And man, he came back in this episode. Oh, and let me say something really quick, especially about Sun Wukong and Blake. Not only are they on the ship, not only was that a reveal, okay, but we also see that apparently there are scales in the water that are apparently grim. That is right, people. It is confirmed now that we finally have sea-like grim. Underwater grim. That is awesome. Everybody was speculating in the Rooster Teeth community that,
or the RWBY community, I should say, from the world of Remnant Video, the first one that we got, where Crow narrates the town of Vale, or the city of Vale, that there could possibly be underwater Grimm. Crow technically hinted at that, and then from what we see in this episode, we get confirmation on underwater Grimm. And I gotta say, the new species that we saw in this episode, yo, I cannot wait till you guys see my live reaction. I cannot wait, because I personally think that this new underwater species of Grimm is awesome. Like, probably one of the best species that I have seen of the Grimm. When it comes to design, they look so good. Now, there is probably other species of Grimm that live underwater, but what we kind of see in this episode is like a sea serpent-like Grimm that can actually leave the water. It can actually grow wings, kind of like a dragon, and it can use its hyper beam and everything like that. But it's just very cool that we finally have new Grimm. I like seeing the new Grimm. So far, when it comes to the new Grimm that we have seen in, this volume of RWBY, we have seen the ghost-like sort of Grimm in which it, goes into objects, and basically it can morph itself into an object and basically use that object to move around and you pretty much use it as a living weapon, so to speak. And we also get in this episode a new species of Grimm, which is a underwater Grimm, and that is freaking insane. And just the whole battle that takes place with Blake, the ship's captain, and everyone else on board, and also Sun Wukong, the fight just went in, and Rooster Teeth, I cannot stress this enough. You guys are doing an awesome job. You guys are doing an awesome job. So far, these past few episodes of RWBY Volume 4 have been getting better and better and better. And I'm going to say right now, this episode of RWBY is my favorite of Volume 4 so far. The whole battle was just so freaking entertaining to watch, and just the soundtrack, the new soundtrack that was playing, seeing Sun Wukong using his abilities, and just the fact that he's back, Blake is back, just tearing up the serpent's wings, and then you also have it to where the captain is just shooting the dragon, trying its best to help out Sun Wukong and Blake as well. Everyone was going at this thing, and it was just so awesome. I don't really know the name of the sort of Grimm species that was introduced in this episode. I mean, the ship's captain basically said that, we'd never seen anything this big before. They didn't even have a name for this Grimm, so it's almost as if they never even knew about this underwater sort of Grimm-like creature. So, very curious indeed. So it seems like there are still Grimm out there that not many people are aware of. Next up, we have Yang. That is right, we get Yang in this episode as well. So all 4 members of Team RWBY have made an appearance in Volume 4. And Yang, oh man, I really do feel bad for her. I really do. She's living with PTSD. She really can't really live the life that, she once lived. I mean, she still hasn't accepted that, her right arm is now gone and she can't really do anything about it. But at the same time, she can do something about it. It's just that she hasn't accepted, the state that she is in. And we actually see her father, come home from, I guess, Atlas, because apparently he ends up bringing a box out to Yang and says, "This box is for you. Why don't you go ahead and open it?" Yang opens it with her one arm that she has, and it's a bionic arm. It's a state-of-the-art bionic limb from Atlas, and Yang could use this as her right arm, but again, Yang is just so much, in a bad state of mind that, she can't really do the things she used to do, and she just doesn't really like the life that,
she once lived. I mean, in the past few volumes of RWBY Volumes 1 through 3, Yang was a very cheery person, a very upbeat sort of hot-headed character. She was probably the most prideful out, actually, she was the most prideful, out of the team members of RWBY. And going crashing down, her whole personality crashing down to where she feels like she's useless and can't do anything. It's pretty sad to see. There is even a scene in this episode into which, she drops a glass as she's cleaning the dishes, and it brings flashbacks of Adam, I guess cutting off her arm at the time, and this sort of sound effect that the glass shattering really takes her back. She really gets scared and backs up, and her heart's beating fast, breathing heavily, and it's just bad. You can definitely tell that the PTSD is there. Yang does have PTSD, and she doesn't know, what she can do in order to get out of this state of mind as being useless. She feels like she's just going with the flow at this point. And, from what we see in the previous volumes, Yang just wants to live in a life of adventure. But, again, because of the state that she is in now, she feels like she can't do anything. So just seeing those scenes of Yang was just pretty hard to see. I mean, it really was. And it's definitely going to take a lot for Yang to actually get out of this state, so that way she can even, go about living and, put on the bionic arm in the first place. And we know for a fact that she will end up putting the bionic arm. I mean, it's only in due time. What it's actually going to take for her to put on that bionic arm, we're not exactly sure yet, because RWBY couldn't, help her out. Her father seems like, he can't help her out. What's it actually going to take for Yang to break out of this state? Now, I have a theory. And my theory is that Yang will eventually get out of this state of mind and putting on the bionic arm, and to actually, go about and fighting it out with her team members again. Only if she meets Raven, her mother, okay? Now, we did end up seeing a glimpse of Raven and Yang meeting in Volume 2 of RWBY, I believe, and we didn't really see much of it. We don't really know what happened in that, because I believe it was at a post-credit scene in Volume 2, and I think it revealed too much at the time, but from what I can expect of, how Volume 4 might play out regarding Yang, is that Yang, while she's maybe, out picking, cherries or, fruit or something out in the forest or something for her father, maybe she ends up coming across Raven, I'm not exactly sure, or maybe Raven just appears on Yang's front porch. I don't really know. But I think that maybe Raven will end up making an appearance to Yang, and as we know, Yang really respects her mother and really misses her deeply. So if anything, it's going to take, a confrontation with, Yang and Raven to actually talk it out between each other as mother and as daughter, before Yang can actually break out of this state that she is in and put on the bionic arm and actually go about living the way she used to. But then again, that's just my theory. I'm not exactly sure if Raven will make an appearance in Volume 4, but it would be really cool, because especially regarding Yang's father, I would really like to get some backstory on Summer Rose, Crow, Yang's father, and Raven. That would be pretty awesome. Now, the final somewhat of a reveal that we see in this episode of RWBY is we revert over to where Cinder and Salem are located at. In other words, I guess where the Grimm originate from, her underworld, and maybe even this, world that Salem is in the first place. If you remember in the world map of the world of Remnant, there is a dragon-like land. Okay, we really haven't got too much specifics on that, but what we do know out of the world of Remnant map is that there is 4 countries of Vale, Mistral, we have the Faunus world, which is the town of Nazri, but then there is also Vale, Mistral, Vacuo, and Atlas. Now, the only portion in the world of Remnant that really hasn't been disclosed on when it comes to information what could reside in that world is this dragon, the one that looks like a dragon. I'm pretty sure you all know what I'm talking about. Just check out the world of Remnant map and you will see an area on the world map of Remnant that looks like a dragon. Maybe this is the place that Salem and Cinder, Emerald, and Mercury are currently located at. I'm not exactly sure. But we're just going to go off of speculation and say that they are. Okay? Now, what we see in this scene is that Salem pretty much tells Cinder straight up, "Did you kill Ozpin?" And as we know, it's really hard for Cinder to talk. And you can even tell to her demeanor that she is looking down, not making eye contact with Salem. And she even tries to call over Emerald for Emerald to speak for her. And Salem's like, "No, I want to hear it from you now." And we actually hear Cinder speak up. So it does seem that Cinder can talk,
but only to a certain degree.
And she tells Salem yes. Okay? So Cinder says that she killed Ozpin. But Salem knows what's up. Salem knows what's up. Even though she knows that Cinder said yes, that didn't help the situation at all, because she knew that Cinder was lying. She knew that Cinder was lying just the way on how she was speaking to her, not making eye contact, looking down, at the ground, and trying to call over Emerald. She knows that Ozpin is not dead. And even I knew that Ozpin wasn't dead, because until you actually find that there is a body, the person is most likely just MIA, okay? They're not dead, okay? So, Salem knows that Cinder said that, she said yes when it comes to Ozpin, but she knows that Ozpin is definitely alive still. And she then begins to think, and this is where the episode leaves off, she states, "What are you up to? What are you thinking about doing?" So, from what I'm getting out of this is that definitely Ozpin is alive and that he is coming up with a plan to actually go about and hopefully maybe taking out Salem. Does Ozpin know that Salem is alive? Probably not, but maybe he does. I'm not really sure. But as we know, Ozpin is pretty much the most knowledgeable man in the world of Remnant as far as we are concerned. But yeah, it does seem that Ozpin is still alive, which is definitely a good thing. Now, I'm just very curious. I think we might have gotten introduced to another Grimm-like creature in this episode, and this is like some sort of oracle-looking Grimm that Salem calls over when she's asking Cinder, did you kill Ozpin or not? And I guess maybe what the oracle did was pretty much sense the feelings of Cinder, and Salem can maybe sense those feelings from the oracle. And it was kind of like a lie detector test. Like, maybe if the oracle can figure out if Salem is lying or not, if Cinder is lying or not, and then Salem can end up figuring out from that oracle
what she is actually thinking. So there is that. Maybe that is what the Oracle-like Grimm is capable of, but I'm not exactly sure. Now, another thing is, what is going on with Emerald and Mercury? Again, I stated this in my first review of Volume 3 of Episode 1. What exactly is Emerald and Mercury getting out of this? Why are they there? It seems like they are having second thoughts. They are completely uncomfortable there, especially now that Cinder is technically not in charge. What exactly are they doing there? What is their overall goal? What is their motive for staying there? And what are they getting out of it? What are they getting out of it? And also,
they haven't talked. They haven't talked much in Volume 4. So I'm very curious if they, are going to just be characters that are kind of like in the sidelines, at the moment. But then again, we haven't really seen them go on a mission yet. I'm pretty sure later down the line we'll see Salem, pretty much telling Emerald and Mercury to go about doing some sort of quest for them, and maybe we might even see Cinder, going out with them as well in order to take down a specific enemy or whatnot. But it definitely, like, the question just keeps on popping in my mind whenever I see Emerald and Mercury in the episode, and they're just standing there. I'm just like, what are they getting out of this? I want to know more about their backstories. We did see their backstories in Volume 3, yes, but I want to know the direct motive of why they are with Cinder and Salem, and what are they getting out of it? That's just all I want to know. So yeah, guys, I think that about does it for my review of RWBY Volume 4, Episode 3. I really hope you all enjoyed it. I really do think that this was my favorite episode of Volume 4 that we have seen so far, and I really, really am curious as to how the episode is, or the episodes of RWBY for this volume is going to progress from here on out. I'm very curious indeed. I mean, I know that this volume is definitely a darker tone compared to the previous editions that we have seen in RWBY, but still, nonetheless, I really want to know how this whole volume is going to play out, and maybe if we will actually see a war break out between the 4 countries. But then again, maybe that is speaking a little bit too soon. I mean, we are only in Volume 4 of RWBY, and apparently it has been hinted at, or sarcastically hinted at, that we could possibly see like 20 seasons of RWBY, but I'm pretty sure that's just an exaggeration, but who knows? Who knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what you guys thought about this episode of RWBY. Also, what did you think about my review? Did you think I pretty much hit the nail on pretty much every sort of thing that was brought about in this episode? I mean, I talked about Yang, I talked about the Grimm, I talked about Blake and Sun Wukong, I also talked about Cinder and Salem, so I think I personally talked about everything that was pretty much in this episode, but let me know in the comments down below if there is anything that you thought that I left out, and also let me know your expectations for the next episode of Volume 4. Let's try to actually make a discussion in the comment section down below for the next episode of RWBY. That would actually be pretty cool. So yeah, let me know your overall thoughts in the comments down below. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and if you want to see more from me, definitely hit that red subscribe button down below, and you'll never miss a video from me. That about does it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. Love you all, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace!